Hello, everybody. I'm going to wait a couple minutes just for folks to kind of simmer in and get in here. But hello, Britt and Mike here. Happy April
Hello.
8th, Eclipse Day, Trello, no new members if you're over the limit day.
I wonder if they coincided with the eclipse on purpose.
Exactly. Maybe that was a plan. They picked that April 8th day because they're like, people be eclipsing. Let's, get on a trend, think about stuff.
Yeah. It's
Yeah.
like we're removing the number of free vendors you can have, but the sun's disappearing.
Yeah, exactly. But
Put
also the
that into
sun's disappearing.
perspective.
So right. Perspective. Um, let's see. Checking that I'm live here on LinkedIn, that everything's going well. Okay, yeah. Looks like we're rolling live over here. And then Restream will not show me comments on LinkedIn. And it's so annoying. So I have to have LinkedIn up over here. I think other tools are like that too. I think it might be like a LinkedIn thing where they cannot stream the comments to like streaming tools. But looks like we are live there. Okay, check YouTube. We've got a couple guests watching here. Hello, folks. Feel free to Andy. There we go. I knew it was gonna be Andy.
Andy.
Yes. Yes, thank you, Andy. Let's see. Let's see, there we go. Hi, Andy. Okay, I can't, you're only listening to the audio on YouTube, but I responded to your chat on YouTube, but okay, yeah, no, that's where you posted it. Okay, perfect. Yes, well, I appreciate that, yeah. So yeah, that confirms YouTube's working for me. Good, love that. Let's see. Ooh, okay. We've got some more friends in here. Raphael Official. We've got Kim Wheeler, Sarah Strokes. Try StreamYard instead. See, okay, I use StreamYard. Sarah, I use StreamYard for Pixie Breaks, my full-time job. And I feel like we also don't get LinkedIn comments in there, but I'll have to look. Maybe there's some setting we just haven't turned on over there and that's the issue. But yes. Hi everybody. Hi friends. It's so good to
we've
see.
set this up to give people advice, and Sarah's come with advice for us.
Yeah, exactly. Right. It's this was actually, we're just here to get some live stream help. If anybody's got any, just let us know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Got any tips for Trello? Let us know too.
Yeah, tips for Trello. Anyone? No. Yeah. We'll share some of those for sure. Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you everybody for joining. This is 8 a.m. for me, which is not that early in the grand spectrum of things, but like takes my brain a few minutes sometimes to like get going in the morning. So I'm ready, and you'll see the warm up. You'll see it'll come. But yeah, I guess just real quick, do we want to introduce ourselves, Mike? Just I guess for anybody here who's like, why are you all talking about Trello? Like, yeah, you want to introduce yourself, and then I'll introduce myself.
Yeah, that works. It's actually 6:30 in the evening for me at the moment, so I'll kind of just have dinner, and I think my brain's kind of got into gear already today. But we'll find out if people ask some difficult questions. But yeah, I'm kind of like Brittany. I'm also a sort of Trello consultant and someone a little bit obsessed with it. So yeah, I get stuck in on the Atlassian community, asking lots of questions, and I constantly try and find new and wonderful things you can do with Trello. So that's why I'm here.
Yeah, and I am Brittany Joyner. I am just obsessed with Trello. I have been for about a decade. I use it to do all sorts of things, and I love helping people solve problems with Trello. I love building various automations and workflows in there. And yeah, I'm a huge Trello girly. And so, Mike and I obviously found out about the news of all of these changes coming to the free workspace plan. We made a video that I will link to in the comments below. But if you're wanting like a quick, we got a quick 2-minute and a quick 20-minute primer on what's changing and what's happening here. I'm going to post that link here in the chat. So feel free to queue that up if you haven't, already watch that. But honestly, we're going to probably cover a lot of similar sort of stuff in this live stream today, and we're just going to do it live. So I'll go ahead and start by saying, if you have any specific questions you want us to cover about these changes, go ahead and post them in the chat, because, you know, this is a kind of informal. So like, I've got a few things I'm going to show for sure, but honestly, just kind of here in case anybody has questions or want some of that help. So by all means, please, I am watching the chat here. Feel free to post those questions in there. And yeah, just let us know what's top of mind for you. But
should we start with the elephant in the room?
Yes, start with it. Start with it.
As in, what's happening today?
Yeah, no, I think we should just give it a super cryptic call out. No, yes, yeah. Absolutely, Mike. Walk us through why did we choose the live stream today? What is happening on this specific day?
So last year when they made this announcement, a little bit over a month ago, made a point of something. But the truth is, nothing's really changed today. So if you've got a Trello workspace that's free, it's going to stay exactly the same. The only thing that they are doing is preventing you from adding any new people if you're already over the limit of 10 collaborators. But if you Trello workspace is working, it's going to carry on working. You're not going to be frozen. You're not going to lose anything. It's just, that's it. So really, April 8th is no reason to panic.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I was like, you know, we could actually screen share here and I could actually call out what's happening here. But yeah, that's exactly it. And so, you know, everybody, when Atlassian kind of announced these changes, was like, oh my God, I only have until April 8th, which first of all was like still almost a month away, over a month away. You can see this was posted on the 4th, but, or that was last updated. I think this was actually originally posted before that, but, still over a month away. But even then, the only change is, like Mike said, you cannot add new people to Workspace if you're over the limits. And so, yeah, so that's really the big thing today. If you need to add people, and you're like, wait a minute, this massively disrupts my workflows, you should be able to upgrade to a trial of premium, which I haven't seen. I was expecting to see a lot of like banners for restart your trial of, you know, whatever, and maybe I will see that in like some of my free workspaces. But yeah, so here we go. So this is for 14 days, but I need to confirm when they're changing it, because they're about to change it to 30 days. So by default, anybody can do a trial for 14 days, but they're about to change it so that you can, first of all, redo it if you've already done it. So if I've already had a trial in, you know, this workspace, for instance, I can do it again, and they're going to extend it for 30 days. And so that's going to give you a whole other month of leeway to kind of practice with things and figure out what you need and stuff like that. But yeah, like, so that's really kind of the big thing. And then again, today, nothing changes unless you're trying to add people on a daily basis, in which case, you know, that's, hopefully you've started thinking about this a little bit since March 4th. But yeah, for the rest of us, it's mostly just business as usual there. If you're wondering, well, how do I know if I'm over and if I can add new people or not? Trello has made it super easy to tell this. So for a given workspace, this is a free workspace I'm part of. Just go to, you know, you can select your workspaces from this tab here. You can see I've cut a lot of different ones. Go to your members tab, and this handy number right up here is going to tell you everything you need. Mike, do you want to try to explain collaborators and there's a lot of confusion around the concept. Do you want to try to clarify some of that for folks?
Yeah, and I think this collaborator, I've been looking at other bits of software, and collaborators seems to be the word at the moment that all software companies are using. And there's a broad kind of brush. It just means anyone who's doing something in some space. It's really that. And
I really like that. I think they should update the official terminology. Collaborators, anyone doing anything somewhere in your space.
Yeah. And so, I mean, there isn't any, when it comes to the free, bearing in mind collaborators are unlimited for paid subscriptions. So the number, as soon as you pay, like, you don't even have to worry about that word collaborator anymore. But for free workspaces, it is anyone. So if you've added someone to your workspace, if you've added someone to your board, or if you've sent an invite to someone, they're collaborators, so they count to the limit. And actually, what Britt's showing on the screen now, you don't really need to worry about the term either. Just look at that count, and it's not going to be wrong. they've got that bit right. So that number's accurate. So all you need to really look at is that collaborators number. And if you reach 10, you won't be able to add anyone new.
Exactly. That is exactly it. And so, yeah, so there's various tools we've shared that kind of can do some of the math for you. If you take a look in, if you take a look in the Atlassian community, Alicia's made a really cool spreadsheet. I know there's like different tools for trying to calculate that. Really, the best thing to do though is, head to Trello, go to this members tab and see what you've got here. And what you're going to see here, let me see if I've got a workspace that shows something a little bit more interesting to maybe tell here. Let's see if Funman Andy, we're going to expose you here. Here we go. All right. Well, no, I need some. See, I've already done all of my cleanup. I'm trying to find some that have a combination of single board, multi-board, and whatnot. Yes. Let's see. I should have some. Actually, I don't think I have multi-board guests in here. Let's see. Let's see. Got anything in here? Oh, here we go. Oh, this is a fun one. Okay. So this is actually an Atlassian workspace that I don't even know who owns. Someone from Atlassian owns it and probably wants to go through and clean it up. But let's talk about what's happening in here. So we've got that collaborators number, which we talked about is kind of anybody who's here in the board. We've got workspace members, which, that's all of your workspace members of all of these visually added to your workspace. You can think of them as like part of your team. These guests are what seem to really trip people up here. And let's talk about this difference between what's a guest, like is an observer a guest? A guest literally just has to do with you're not officially added to the workspace. Like I didn't go here to workspace and say invite workspace members and add you here. Also, that's kind of funny. Notice that it looks like I can't actually add somebody here, even though I'm over the limit. Do we see this here? Like starting April, maybe it hasn't kicked in yet. Maybe it's April 8th at eclipse time or something at noon. I don't know. But looks like I can actually still add people in. But anyways, so you notice here, if I've officially added someone to my workspace, that's a workspace member, regardless of what their role is. If you can add somebody to a board. So for instance, in this workspace, there's a board here. I can add somebody to a board, even if they're not part of the workspace. So, I can go in here and say, hey, my partner B, come join this board. She won't show up as a member of the workspace, but she will be a guest. So again, has nothing to do with the role you give somebody, whether they're a member, observer, whatever they are. That makes them a guest. And the difference between the types of guests is multi-board, meaning you're part of more than one board. So let's say I had, 5 different boards in here and I added V to a couple of them. Well, she becomes a multi-board guest. Whereas single board guests are people who are just part of one board. You do not pay for these people. These 93 people, not $1, not a cent, nothing, you pay for them. Multi-board guests, you pay for them just like you pay for workspace members. So if you're trying to figure out how many people am I going to have to pay for, it's the number of people here. So in this case, 357, plus the number of people here. In this case, 1. So then take that and multiply that by, 5 times, whatever, whether you're looking at the standard plan or the premium plan and the monthly or the annual rate, that's going to answer, kind of change. Is it $6? Is it $12? Is it $10? Whatever that number is. But then that's what you're multiplying it by. So Mike and I, in our video that I shared in the chat, we shared some tips on how to really try to get folks in here, because Mike's got a pretty cool graphic he made where it's showing you want to get any folks you have in here, move them down here. And there's different ways you can do that, right? Sometimes it's as simple as restructuring boards. If you have somebody on 4 different boards, could those boards be combined and be one single board? In some cases, yes. And you might want to do that by taking advantage of filters. So maybe instead of everybody having their own board, 5 people move into this board and we use filters about cards assigned to me. And you can see it updates the URL. So I can always it's kind of like I have my own saved board view. In some cases, that's not going to work for you. You're like, no, I absolutely need them to be part of multiple boards. And in that case, I think, Mike, I don't think my party line has changed. If you really need people to be part of multiple boards like that, I think you probably should be paying for Trello. You still agree,
Yeah,
Mike,
I
or
think so.
have you changed? Yeah.
No, absolutely. And in a weird way, that's the actual true sense of a collaborator. Someone who's
Yeah.
So yeah, I believe that if you're working on more than one board, you are kind of operating in a team environment, and you need to share information. So that is, if you look at any other bit of software similar to Trello, it would be exactly the same.
Exactly.
One use case I want to share, because it comes up on the community a lot, is a lot of people use Trello with a few internal users, and then they have 50, 60, 100 plus other members who are guests to a board, and because they just need people to see the information. So a little bit of a plug for external share, a power up,
Yes.
which gives you the ability, and Britt actually reminded me of it because she uses it in her newsletter last week. So
yes.
It's incredibly good, and they've even added recently the ability to add comments. So you can use an external share the cards you want to share with people. They'll only be able to see them, and they'll be able to comment on them, but they get full visibility. And it's got some really cool filters and stuff. So if you've got multiple clients looking at the same board, you can filter for that client if they've got a client label or something like that. It's the easiest way to get read-only in Trello, and it's part-time. You have Power Ups Club, which I think is still $5 a month, which is pretty darn cheap.
Oh yeah, and you get access to a bunch of different power-ups in there. So this is just one of them. But yeah, I actually used this recently to solve this, because one of the things I was thinking through is, for my premium subscribers, I used to have a workspace that I kept us all in, and that way I could share Trello board templates, and control who has access to them. Admittedly, it was never a long-term solution. I knew Trello well enough to know that was not going to be really scalable, because for one, you could only have 10 boards in there, and I'm gonna pretty quickly hit that with my premium subscribers. For two, I knew that wasn't really going to work, because I just needed to it wasn't quite economics worth exactly paying $5 a month for each member who pays me maybe $7 a month after fees to be a premium subscriber. I knew that wasn't going to work, and so I was like, that's not a great solution. And then number three, that's not really what Trello is for. Okay, it's not a document control sort of portal like that. So I wrestled a little bit with wait a minute, am I giving up on Trello by not keeping them in a workspace? And I was like, that's not what a workspace is meant for. But anyways, external share kind of solved this exactly how I wanted to, while still letting me do what I want in Trello. Basically, I have this board. It's called Dear Taco. It's pretty much how I manage my entire newsletter. It started as Dear Taco because it used to just be queuing up the questions that people can submit via my newsletter. There's a section in it called Dear Taco, and it's kind of like Dear Abby, but you just ask me questions about Trello, and I answer them in my newsletter. And so, anyways, quick shout out to Blue Cat forms for that power up, which lets you fill out that form and then creates a card here in my board. And so anyway, so it started as that, but then you can see I keep track of all the other things I do in here as well. And then I recently just added a list of my premium templates, and these boards, this is just a list that you can view. And so let me go back to my external share. I made criteria. I said in this, you can specify secrets out, but you can specify what does this all look like here? Only show cards that have this label, only show lists, cards in this list. You can hide specific fields, which is super handy if you want to do that. You can allow commenting. And so then what that means is now I have this handy link that my premium subscribers can access to see all of these templates that I have, and that way it's still kind of controlled access, without having to, pay $5 a month to put them in a workspace and then make sure I've added to them to the right workspace with the right email and all of those sort of things. So I'm glad you called that out, because that's definitely something that I found that is super helpful too. I'll go ahead and post a link to external share in the.
Yeah, I also found out this when I was playing with it as well, and I wasn't expecting it to work this well, but it also it handles card covers and dash cards, so even they show up, because I had a use case where someone basically wanted to share with their client a list of client tasks with at the top how many tasks they've got remaining as a quota, So I on the Trello board, did Trello with dash cards, and I was thinking the external share wasn't going to show the dash card, but it does.
That's amazing. Wow, I would have thought. I also would have thought like, that's not going to work. But that's interesting. Okay. Very cool. And yeah, and I'm just, showing Tiny Power Apps Club over here. Feel free to check it out. $5 a month, you get access to all of this, not just external share, but all sorts of different ones in here. And so, definitely check that out. Some very cool stuff in there for sure. Let's talk about some of these tools, because this is one of the big things that I know was, when it was first announced, Trello was like, we're going to be adding some admin tools in here. Oop, nope, that's my post. Trello was like, we're going to be adding some admin tools, because there's been a lot of questions in this thread with 303 comments, by the way. So major shout out to the Atlassian team and Mike, Alicia. There's been a handful of community members and the Atlassian team members who are like jumping in and responding to questions in here, even when they're questions that have already been asked before. So definitely fascinating thread to hop in here. But they mentioned that, there's some tools coming in the admin, and there's a lot of people who are like, hey, how do I remove people here? Like someone's on a board. I actually had this issue the other day, and I should have saved it for this live stream to fix it. But I had a workspace, and I had somebody that had made their own boards in that workspace, and I couldn't get rid of those boards because they had actually it was their board. It was in my workspace, and I was like, there was initially a weird sort of thing to do with that. But now it's super easy to do, because you'll just go to this members page, and you can see on these guests, pretty much everybody that you're trying to get out of that multi-board or in that workspace members space is going to have a remove button. And so it's going to be super easy to quickly go through and clean up and say, oh yeah, first of all, if someone's deactivated, they don't even count. Also look how old this board is. I've even got Inspiring Taco added to this board. But yeah, it's so they're super easy now when you're trying to do this cleanup. You can just come in here, you can, kick people out, so to speak, and do what you need to do. I wanted to bring up, related to this, I'm going to need to bring up the link in the email, but there's a lot of questions as to what happens? Okay, if I, remove somebody and they're an admin of a board, what happens to that board? Give me 1 second. I meant to pull that link up. I did ahead of time, but you know me at 8 a.m. Okay, so here, and this is where we have this handy article about, removing collaborators from free workspaces. If you read through this article, it looks a little bit like the, it looks, that's not what I'm trying to do. I'm trying to find the physics mean formula. It feels like, oh my gosh, why can I not find this meme? Do you all know the meme I'm talking about? Nah. There we go. This is what. Here we go. Math lady. It feels like this. Does it feel a little like this, Mike? When you first look at this article, and you're like,
I'd say I know Trello pretty well, but I had to read it several times just to get my head around it. And Atlassian did sort of say to us apologetically that the reason why their articles are so wordy is because, and not pictorial, is because they need to be able to translate into all sorts of languages. So that's why they tend to put support articles without pictures. But a picture would be able to do this, and perhaps that's something to work on. To get out there.
Maybe Mike and I will make a little flow chart that kind of helps explain that. But yeah, basically, so here's what happens when you're removing people from your workspace, and what happens. I'm gonna give the kind of TLDR here, and then we'll chat more through it. Let's say I'm removing someone. Let's say Mike and I have made a board, and we've got Mike and me, and Mike made a board in my workspace. That is my partners, me and V. We have a workspace. Mike was a guest, made a board in this workspace. Mike, let's see. If there is a workspace member on the board, once I kick Mike out, that person will become an admin automatically. So let's say V was actually in Mike's board. Mike and V had their own board. They're planning our I don't know, Asian trip, and it's going to be a surprise for you. They had a board over there working on it. I kicked Mike out because I didn't know he was planning a surprise trip for me, or I would have left him in my workspace. And so V is going to be promoted to admin automatically. And so that's what happens. A workspace member will have access to the board. If there is not a workspace member remaining on the board, so Mike actually was in our workspace and had another secret board planning, I don't know, planning a secret party for me and V. Neither of us knew about it. Nobody else was in that. If the board's visibility is set to workspace visible or public, whoever is removing Mike, aka if it's me in this case, is going to be added to the board. So basically, if I'm kicking Mike out and it's not a private board, then I'm going to be jumping right in there and I will become the new admin. Feels very like medieval, almost a little bit of like I'm conquering and taking territories as I'm kicking you out. Here's where it gets tricky though, Mike. If there is not a workspace member remaining on the board, so this is Mike's super secret board. It's actually private because he didn't want me and V to see it. The collaborators won't be removed from this board, but the board will be closed instead. So members of closed boards don't count towards the collaborator limit. So admittedly, there's not much you can do. Like, I can't really exactly like take over your boards, but I can close that board because I'm going to assume at this point, I can't get in touch with you. We can't talk through what's happening. You can't move it to a different workspace and sort it out for yourself. I'm just going to close that board, and then you can reopen that when you need to at some point in another workspace because it's your board. You can, do whatever you want, but it's not going to mess with me and my count and what I'm doing. I'm not going to be responsible for, miscellaneous boards you have hanging out over there. That's kind of my interpretation of this, but what do you think, Mike? Did I explain that well? Is that like, I know you kind of read this through, like,
yeah, that's a pretty good explanation, I think. And a couple of things to bear in mind with free, and that's actually normally not a good thing, but it actually is a benefit in this sense, is that on the free package, if you're a workspace member, you're automatically admin. So for handling this, it means if you've got workspace members, you don't even have to worry about what privilege setting they've got. They're admin automatically. So I think the best thing to look at it is Trello dealt with the logic behind the scenes. So remove the people you need to remove, and it will just handle that. So as you said, it will remote a person if there's no one admin on the board. It will find the admin into workspace and make that an admin of the board. Just a quick mention on the boards that are private and there is no workspace admin. You get generally, if you've got notifications set, you'll get an email if a board's been closed that you own. So you'll be emailed, and then the first thing that happens if you want to reopen a closed board is it asks you which workspace to put it in. So then you can just move it to whichever workspace you want or create a new one. So I think it sounds complicated if you read these words, but actually it's fairly simple, and that's remove people you think are right to remove and let the Trello software do the rest.
I'm highlighting Kim's comment here. That makes sense to me. It does, and that's I think exactly what Mike and I have like kind of landed at here. Like, this seems logical. Like, I know some people reading the article have still been kind of confused, and I get it. Like, the words you kind of have to sit and like process through for a second. But when you actually think about it, there's probably not a better way you would expect to handle that change, right? Like, it's a bit of a weird man's land where somebody else has made a board and done things and kind of concocted it into your workspace. But like that I agree with Kim. Like, this makes sense. This is probably like the way that I would handle it if I were, at Atlassian and they asked me, Brittany, and all your infinite wisdom, what would you do in this situation? So I get it.
And Atlassian could have spun this as a new feature, because one of the biggest, or the question that comes up most in the community is, I've got people on my workspace who have left the business or they've got boards and how do I remove them? It's always been a sticking point because they've not been able to. If you have upgrades to premium, then you have more control. But generally speaking, people have been stuck with those. So now by having this change, it's actually solved that problem for a lot of people.
Exactly. Yeah. And, you can see like, here's a good example of, Bridget, I miss you using this example here. This is some stuff that we were using in the Atlassian community. It's not really even being used anymore, as you can tell. But basically, like, I would have been in a bit of a situation here if I was like the admin of this workspace and, I can, Bridget's part of 2 boards here. If I don't have access to this board, what am I going to do? I can't go in there and remove her from it. And so, yeah, basically, there's these admin tools. Seeing this remove button is so handy because you used to see this situation and it wasn't there. And it was just like, you could always do that if you were a workspace admin with your members, but with your guests, it was a little bit like when Trello first announced these changes, I actually had a workspace where I was having some issues with that. And I was like, and I was like, I see this is what they're going to add that remove button for. That is going to make it easier to sort of like handle that and sort that out because yeah, I was like, oh, I see how you might get in this sort of situation. So, yeah.
Yeah, and I'm going to give some credit to. I'm not always endorsing what Atlassian does, but in terms of they've delivered something that they knew some people were going to be upset about, but the way they've done it, I'm quite pleased and they exceed expectations in terms of how they've done it. So they've given plenty of notice. They've really got involved in communicating with the community and providing tools. And then they've done it in a way that provides you with actually tools that give you greater control over your workspace, whether you've got free or paid workspace. So that's a bit of a bonus.
Right.
Yeah, the way they've implemented this is pretty good.
Right. Andy, of course, Andy knows this board that I'm talking about and still checks it regularly. This isn't even, is this the old one? I thought there was a new one though, Andy. Like, I know this is the cat board, but like, I thought there was a new one, but maybe this is the 2.0 one. And now that I think about it, Janice is on here, so maybe it's actually, yeah, this board. I don't know. We'll have to talk to Mo and figure out what's going on over here because we've got Atlassian. Maybe Atlassian will work with them on that. I don't know. Maybe Atlassian will work with Atlassian on cleaning up this workspace here. But also this just in because Mike is multitasking in the background here, and I appreciate you doing this, Mike. So we've got clarification. That 30-day trial, it is going to go into effect the same time that they begin blocking addition of the new users past the limit. Sounds like that's sometime today. So that's why we're still seeing here, we're able to add people and we're seeing the 14-day trial, not the 30-day trial. So don't worry. You've still got a few minutes, I guess. So that'll happen at some point today. But
add everyone now, quick.
Add everyone now. Add everyone you can think of you'd ever want to use Trello with. Just come on in here. No, that's it. That's exactly. Yeah, but thank you, Mike, for reaching out and following up on that so we could get an answer for that. Because I was confused because I was like, wait a minute, but yeah, it's happening sometime today. It wasn't like just a midnight GMT switchover thing.
And whilst we're on that, like as soon as the premium trial does become available, but 30, if you've used the 14-day one before, it doesn't matter. They're resetting it for everyone. So 30 days for free premium, just take it anyway. It's worth doing, and it buys you time to sort of fix your workspace and try and figure out what the best structure is. But it also premium features are really good. So it's just do it because it's free and you've got a whole month to do it.
Yeah, exactly. I'm posting in the chat here. Andy's talking about using the cab one monthly because, yeah, Andy's in the cab. And I'm like, yeah, we might need to talk to Mo and Janice about getting that in. And although admittedly, I do remember it was a whole saga with Mo trying to make it part of an Atlassian space. Like, I even tried to help them with that. Like, they were trying to move boards. But, yeah, we might, yeah. Andy, let me know if they're having any trouble in cab with that board, and I'll do my best to see what we can help with there. Kim says, adding the remove definitely helps a lot. We've had similar issues with people who've left projects and don't remember their login details to remove themselves. 100%. Mike, like you said, I see this in the community so often. It's like probably I would say one of the most common categories of questions is like, help, like somebody's on this board and I can't get rid of them, or like they left the company and they're an admin of this, like what do I do now? So yeah, there's on any given day all sorts of different things going on here with what people are doing and so whatnot. Oh my goodness gracious, there's so many, man, this is making me want to just like jump in. There's a lot of questions going on here. Page dates here. This week clear. Yeah, see, we've got people
They
here.
should have been watching here.
Yes, yes. Let me just respond here live. Help Chris and Parasec out here. Hey, hey there. The switch over is happening at some point today, and will go into effect when you are unable to add new users. So be on the lookout. It's coming, and it will be 30 days. Do my favorite little salute emoji here. Okay. See, so there we go. Yeah, this is making me just want to. I think Alex Ortez once did a live stream, just like answering questions here in the community live. But yeah,
That's quite a good idea actually, because yeah, you kind of vocalize the response to this.
Right. Exactly. Yeah. Oh man, all sorts of stuff going on in here. Boards will be visible to all users registered before April 8th. See, this is where we source our questions, Mike. This is, where we're getting to any Q&A here. What are people asking?
Yeah.
Free boards will be visible to all users registered before. Boards will always be visible, right? Like, I mean, that's the answers. Boards will.
Yeah. Do you know one thing that we haven't experienced yet is just what it's going to look like when they do freeze the board. I guess it's basically looking like the public view does.
Right. Yeah, exactly. It's going to be basically like a public board where you can, it's like read only. You can't go in and edit it, but you'll always be able to read it.
Whilst you're typing that, I'll answer Kim's question. So if you sign up to a premium, I think the workspace sets itself with the person who upgrades as admin and the rest as members. That's correct?
It's actually a good question. I think what would happen is, so let's say, let's try.
This could be try actually.
Yeah, like let's see. I don't. Do you have a good? I was gonna say I don't know that I have a good one actually to try it on, because most of them I'm just the workspace member on it. But like, I think what would happen is everyone.
Yeah, so the person who upgrades is the admin, and the rest are members, from what I can see.
Oh, really? Okay. So, interesting. So, yeah. So basically, if you, me, and V were in a workspace and I upgrade, I'm just the admin and everyone else is a member.
Yeah. And until you change it to something else.
Yeah. Right. Because, it's pretty easy to change that there. Okay. That makes sense. Yeah. Boards will always be visible. They will just turn into read only, unable to edit or comment. Yeah. Great question, Kim. And yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Some of these, like, I've seen some people asking some questions about like enterprise stuff. I'll admit I'm a little less familiar with all of that, like those sort of features and those aspects of, the enterprise versions of Trello, just because I don't really need to use that version of it. So I don't have as much experience with that. And a lot of the clients that I have are typically on like the SMB sort of side. I definitely know there are enterprise companies using Trello, but they want somebody like full time to come help them use Trello. And I like doing other things with my day besides just using Trello. Don't tell anybody. But yeah, so.
I've not got any knowledge of what happens in enterprise, but some of the questions that come up are generally speaking that they've got an enterprise account, and then some of their enterprise members have got free workspaces that they still want to have access to. And as far as I can gather, that it just applies the same rules as what we're seeing now. So it shouldn't be any major problem.
Right. That's what I'm thinking. Yeah. Any other questions, or anybody else trying to figure out some stuff, whether it's related to removing members, new admin tools, these changes in general? Anything else coming up? Nonprofit.
I'm just going to add a couple of points to that. And one of the things that come up, that people are a bit scared with what's going to happen when all these changes. So remember, if you've got a free account, you haven't put any billing details in at all. So there's no chance that no matter what you do, that Trello is ever going to be able to charge you for anything. So you don't need to worry about that. Secondly, whether you've got a free account and you're upgrading it, or you're adding members to a paid account. Like, if you try and add a member, like the first thing that happens is a warning pops up saying this member's a single board guest, they'll be moving to a multi-board guest at this price. So nothing will ever happen without you knowing. So they have really worked on making sure that the messaging's right across the workspace.
Right. Yeah. There's some questions too about the nonprofit stuff. You can see there's an article here. I'll go ahead and put that in the chat. I know some folks have been asking about, oh, hang on, did I lose my other one that I had up? Yeah, there's a couple articles about that. I'll put in the chat if anybody else is curious, because I know there's been, definitely some people wanting to know, okay, well, I'm a teacher. How does this impact me? Keep in mind, there are nonprofit and education discounts. And so you definitely want to, be on the lookout for those. Apply for like I guess they call it a community license. I didn't know that's what they call it, but basically you can get as much as like a 75% discount off. So keep that in mind, just because if you're panicking about some of these changes and you're like, this is like, I didn't want to pay for this for all my students, it may actually not cost as much as it looks like it does on the tin. Yeah. Any other questions or anything else, Mike, that's kind of coming to mind you want to highlight or think through here?
I think there's obviously this whole change has got people thinking about how to structure their workspaces, but has actually been something I've been advised for all the companies I work for doing Trello workspaces and designing their Trello workspace. The first thing I say to them is upgrade, because you get more features, custom fields, unlimited automations, this kind of thing. So I generally work with people who've already got a paid workspace. But the first thing I do is say, well, you can be really efficient with this if you only have like 2 or 3 members, and then set up the workspace and you've got loads of single board guests. So one of the top things I do is actually set things up so single board guests can operate on certain boards, and have a little automation bot or like a service account that runs automation between the boards. So, for example, if you've got a main internal board and you need to talk to some contractors on the outside, which is quite a common case, you can still have those contractors on a single board. But if they need to grab information from somewhere else, you can set an automation that says when they click a button, that if an automation runs and grabs a little bit of information from a card on another board and posts it as a comment. So there's loads of little ways you can use Trello's automation to kind of circumvent having to pay for everyone. And yeah, so I'd really recommend looking into what you can do to streamline the workspace.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, and like I said before, filters are a big one that help with that, I think, a lot too. So if you're looking for you're like, oh, I don't want to have to build automation and stuff, you can use tools like Unito. I know Placker has some tools with mirroring cards as well. So there's various tools for that. But again, that's where you're going to kind of go back into a builder's buy. And if you're trying to save money on workspaces, you probably don't want to pay for another power up to do things as well. But there's definitely, like Mike saying, automation and stuff you can build that says, when a change is made on this card, find a linked card and go, do this or that, do that. Yeah, so that's definitely handy tips there. Yeah, I know there's a minute or 2 delay here, but I'll wait a few seconds. If there's any final questions coming in here, definitely let us know. We're happy to answer them. If you want to keep up on news like this and be the first to know when Mike and I are going to go live again, make sure to be part of the Atlassian community. I'll post a link for that here, because that is the best place to go for all of these things, to ask your questions, see what other people have asked and get answers to that. Connect with what things are happening, like when are Mike and Brittany going live again. And so that's definitely number 1. Number 2, follow us on LinkedIn. Both of us are individually and together sharing a lot of content about these changes, especially. We typically share a bunch of content about Trello in general, even when there's not things going on. But Mike's been making some really cool graphics that help explain, the sort of process and stuff. So make sure to be following us on LinkedIn. I'll get some links for that too. And I have a Trello newsletter, a whole newsletter dedicated to Trello that I release every Thursday morning. So I'll post a link for that as well, but definitely encourage you to sign up for and get subscribed to that so you can, be the first to know whenever Britt and Mike going live, what kind of tips do they have, what can we do to be prepared, and just learn about other awesome Trello stuff, right? Like if, especially if this change has made you decide, yeah, I probably do want to pay for Trello, make sure you're getting the most out of it, right? And learning and using all of those features. So I'll go ahead and post those links, but any other sort of closing thoughts or anything you want to mention there, Mike?
No, I think LinkedIn's great because, like you said, we can be a bit more visual than in the community. It's all a bit words. So those things where people are bamboozled by numbers of words, and I've been trying to distill things down as visually as possible, just to because it makes my simple brain work a bit better, and hopefully that I can share that with us. But yeah, it's
same.
Definitely easier to visualize a lot of this stuff than words show. I guess probably as a closing point, we probably should talk about the next date because that one, I guess, has more of an implication.
Yes, that is true. That's valid. I guess we should probably mention that. That's coming up. I just moved the article, of course, so let me bring it back up, but I believe it's May 20th. Let's see if my memory
May 20th.
Right. Oh, I was right. Yes. Okay. So yeah, I'm going to keep posting some links if you want to talk through that and what we need to know for that.
Yeah. So May 20th is the date that you do have to have your workspaces in order, because if you haven't figured out how to get a free workspace under the 10 collaborator limit, or you haven't upgraded to a paid subscription, then at this point your boards will be locked out. So Trello has made it very clear that it's not something that's going to stop you from viewing the data. I believe it's also possible just to export the data at this point, but you can't actively use the boards until you get below that collaborator limit. So if you haven't, by May 20th, if you haven't got it in order, then they will freeze your boards, and they won't become active if you get to 10 or below collaborators before you upgrade. And so that is the date that it changed. And I've just checked, it's still 42 days to go. And if you're really clever about when you enable the free trial, so if you say you enable the free trial towards the end of April, then you'll have even longer because you'll be
right. You can extend it. Yeah. And I mean, honestly, if you're like, I'm procrastinating cleaning up all these changes, but I don't really need to add somebody else, you could probably add that trial on May 19th, May 20th, and then not have to kick that can another 30 days and not have to worry about this till almost July, or end of June, I guess. But I mean, yeah, in general, don't procrastinate. Figure out what your solution is. You know what I mean? I think they've been very generous in this timeline, and there's no need for anybody to feel rushed to hurry and come to a solution, but also don't kick the can too long. Take some time, think about what you want to do, and ask questions, meet with me and Mike, and get feedback on. Like I said, there's 300 something comments on here where people are like, here's how I've got my workspace set up, what can I do? Try to see what other people are doing in that case and see if you want to do that or not, and figure out if you want to upgrade or not, and all the fun things that you get with that and how to orchestrate that. So yeah, I think I haven't seen any other questions or anything come through here. I've posted links to follow us on LinkedIn, go to the community, join us on Substack. So I think that's probably a good note to end it on, but thank you so much, everybody, for watching. This is recorded, so if at any point you were like, wait, what did she say? What did Mike say? What was this tip here? You can go back and watch this on both LinkedIn and YouTube, wherever you're watching now. You should be able to replay this. And yeah, you know how to get in touch if you have any other questions, and we look forward to seeing you around. Thank you, Mike, for joining. Appreciate this. Hope the rest of your day is pretty chill and easy. And I'm all warmed up and ready to go.
It was a nice time for me. Quite a lot of time. I'm having to wake up 3, 4 o'clock in the morning for this thing. So thanks for making it a generous time for me. I appreciate that.
Oh my gosh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. And yeah, thank you, Andy. Thank you, Kim, for being active here and in the chat. Appreciate it. These are so much more fun when there's people here watching and engaging with us. So yeah, thank you, everybody. And yeah, thank you, Jamie. Yeah, we will see you all later.
Yeah, and if in the US, enjoy the eclipse.
Yes.